Hello friends! Today's question of the day, how important are speaking skills in the proclamation of the gospel? We're going to look at a passage from 1 Corinthians chapter 2 where the Apostle Paul, the great evangelist, the great communicator, the great writer of the New Testament, tells us how important they were to him in his ministry to people all over the world. Here's what he writes in chapter 2 verses 1 through 5. For I, when I came to you, brothers, did not come proclaiming to you the testimony of God with lofty speech or wisdom. For I decided to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. In other words, Paul's saying, I didn't want you to be impressed with Paul. I wanted you to be amazed at Jesus. I didn't want to distract you from how great Jesus is by putting on a good show so that you went home and said, boy, that Paul can really speak, or he was really convincing. No, he wanted them to forget all about Paul and think about Jesus, because Paul is just the waiter bringing the meal to the table. And that's how we all are when we're sharing the gospel with a humble mindset. And what's the rest of Paul's mindset? Verse 3, and I was with you in weakness and in fear and much trembling, and my speech and my message were not in plausible words of wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, so that your faith might not rest in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. So what's Paul saying? I didn't want you to think I was clever. I didn't want to trick you or convince you or pressure you or guilt you into believing something you wouldn't otherwise believe. I just wanted to point you to Jesus. And I needed to be aware of myself enough to know, hey, my speech can be a little distracting and it can cause a lot of attention on me. I need to dial it back. Or I might be a little low energy and I need to raise that energy so that people aren't distracted by how unaffected I seem to be by what I'm saying. The point in all of it is where you point. Are you pointing to yourself when you're proclaiming the gospel, when you're talking to people about Jesus? Do you want them to know how much you know, or how spiritual you are, or how mature you are? Or do you want them to know how great Jesus is? So can God use public speaking skills? Absolutely. God can use all of the gifts. In fact, He's the one that gave us all the gifts to use for Him. But He wants all those gifts to point to Him, because otherwise all they're doing is building up our pride, or the pride of the people that are speaking, and drawing them farther away from Him and making the message more convoluted and harder for people to understand and get to Jesus through. So be the waiter, be clear, and be about Jesus when you're sharing the gospel, and you're going to be on the right track. I hope this has been a blessing. Have a great day.